Tonight, Russia's Wagner boss reportedly killed. The head of the infamous Russian paramilitary mercenary group is said to be on the passenger list of a plane that crashed in Russia. The questions many are now asking after the reported crash occurred just weeks after the man known as Putin's chef led a mutiny against the Russian president and his forces. Plus,
we don't want to see an election won or lost based on some viral deepfake.
As artificial intelligence blurs the line between fact and fiction, Emmanuel Saliba reports on the race to restore trust ahead of the 2024 election. And
I can't rightfully do that without my Heisman Trophy.
he's one of the most legendary running backs in the league. Now he's preparing to sue the NCAA for defamation. Why former USC star and two-time All-American Reggie Bush is making waves and what he's hoping to get in return. And good evening, everyone. I'm Terry Moran in for Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Tonight, we are following three major stories. 8 Republican presidential hopefuls will take to the debate stage in Milwaukee, one despite tearing his Achilles tendon yesterday. More on that in a moment. Frontrunner Donald Trump will not be there. What impact will his absence from the stage have on the debate and on the race going forward? Trump is set to surrender to authorities in Georgia tomorrow after Rudy Giuliani turned himself in today. But we begin with a stunning turn overseas. The mercenary leader behind that failed rebellion against Vladimir Putin has died in a suspicious plane crash. This video shows the plane plunging from the sky 100 miles north of Moscow, killing all 10 people on board. The Russian aviation agency confirmed that Yevgeny Prigozhin, the founder of the Wagner mercenary group who led that mutiny attempt 2 months ago, was on board. Prigozhin was once very close to Vladimir Putin, nicknamed Putin's chef, until the failed rebellion he had played a vital role in the Kremlin's war against Ukraine. ABC's Tom Sufi Burridge has the latest breaking developments from Ukraine.
Tonight, a stunning twist. The man who led a rebellion against the Kremlin said to be on board this plane, plummeting to the ground. The private jet, which went down not far from Moscow, belonged to Yevgeny Prigozhin, the boss of the notorious Wagner mercenary group. Another angle seen here in video circulating online, showing the plane suddenly plunging from its cruising altitude of 28,000 feet. Russia's state aviation agency saying Prigozhin was on board. Pro-Wagner sources saying he was one of 10 people killed. Videos circulating online from the crash site showing what appears to be puncture marks in the wreckage. Experts saying this points to the likelihood of a missile strike, not a bomb blast.
If it had been a bomb on board, we would have seen deformation that would have been expanding out of the aircraft. Right now, we're seeing the puncture holes that are a signature of a surface-to-air or an air-to-air missile impacting that aircraft.
President Biden today asked if he thought Putin was involved.
I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised. There's not much that happens when Russia is not behind.
Prigozhin, a billionaire and a one-time close ally of President Putin. Thousands of his Wagner soldiers were fighting in Ukraine. But Prigozhin fell out with Russia's Ministry of Defense and then mounted a rebellion, taking control of a key Russian city, threatening to march on the Kremlin. Putin calling Wagner traitors, but then reportedly cutting a deal, with the powerful mercenary boss then saying his fighters were moving next door to Belarus. Prigozhin last seen in this video, released 2 days ago, bragging he was back to business in Africa, where his group is accused of murdering and torturing civilians. But with questions swirling about the fate of Prigozhin's last flight, President Putin tonight at a concert. Wagner's failed mutiny made him look weak. Tonight, the Russian leader smiling and seemingly at ease.
And Tom Sufi Burridge joins us now from Ukraine. Tom, the Russians are going to conduct their investigation for what it's worth. Will the U.S. and NATO be able to determine on their own what happened here?
Yeah, Terry, it's still not clear what brought the plane down, but if it was a missile, it's likely Western intelligence already knows the type of missile and where it came from. Terry?
All right, Tom Sufi Burridge, thanks very much. And back here at home, the stage is set for the first Republican presidential debate. 8 candidates will be on that stage. Of course, that does not include former President Donald Trump. And here are the 8 Republicans who will be on stage, including North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who tore his Achilles tendon playing pickup basketball yesterday. Good luck to him. Well, the question many are asking tonight is, can any of these candidates make a name for themselves, connect with voters? And how will that shake up the race? Our team is in Milwaukee tonight, tracking it all for us, and we begin with Rachel Scott.
Tonight in Milwaukee, a pivotal moment in the Republican primary. 8 candidates taking the debate stage for the first time. But the man dominating the field, the undisputed frontrunner Donald Trump, will not be there.
He didn't have the guts or the respect to show up on that stage and defend his record and advocate for the future of America.
With Trump skipping the debate, all eyes will be on his closest rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been trying to revive his campaign after several stumbles. He says he is the only candidate on that stage with a real shot at the White House.
I'm not running to be vice president. I'm not running to be in the cabinet, and I'm not running to be a contributor on cable news. We're running to win.
But others are hoping for a breakout moment, like entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, a fierce defender of Trump, now rising in his own right. His rivals hoping to blunt his momentum.
And Rachel Scott joins us now from Milwaukee there. Rachel, Donald Trump not at this debate and maybe not at the next one now. What are you hearing?
Yeah, Trump will not be showing up today. And then just moments ago, a senior advisor to the former president said that he will likely be sitting out the next debate in California at the Reagan Library as well. Trump has continued to point to his commanding lead in this race as a reason to skip these debates altogether, saying the public knows him very well. Even though he won't be on the stage tonight, I could tell you that sources close to the former president tell me he will definitely be watching, Terry.
He'll be watching, Rachel, and he dominates the Republican Party. None of these candidates are within shouting distance of him in the polls at this point. So getting back to the stage tonight, what are you going to be watching for?
One thing I'm really going to be looking at here is how this crowded Republican field takes on this dominant frontrunner who is not on the stage. You have candidates like former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson, also North Carolina Governor Doug Burr. You also have former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who have made their entire campaigns about taking on the former president. Also going to be looking to see how these lesser-known candidates introduce themselves to the country and whether or not they have a breakthrough moment on that stage tonight, Terry.
All right, thanks, Rachel. Rachel Scott there. We're going to hear Rachel's conversation with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis as chief of staff in just a few minutes. And for more on tonight's debate, let's bring in ABC News contributor, Democratic strategist, and former DNC chair Donna Brazile. And on the GOP side, we've got ABC News contributor, former New York congressman, and former chairman of the House Homeland Security Committee, John Katko. Welcome to both. And Donna, let me begin with you. Strategy right in your wheelhouse. So strategize this debate. How would you be coaching candidates tonight when the front runner isn't there?
First of all, I would see this as an opportunity for them to introduce themselves to the American people, not just to Republican primary voters, but to the American people. So be yourself. Come prepared to take on some tough questions. Perhaps come prepared to ensure that you can pivot, so to speak. But the first thing they should do is to just relax. This is an opportunity for them to really have a moment with the American people, to talk to those Republican primary voters and remind them, while the former president is preparing to turn himself in Fulton County, Georgia, they have an opportunity to go beyond the Trump years, go beyond where the former president is, and to really expose or at least tell the American people a little bit more about the vision they have for the country.
It's a real opportunity for them. So John, this first debate, Trump not on stage, the same week as Donna was saying he needs to surrender to Fulton County for trying to overturn a fair election. Do you think his absence tonight matters to the people who matter the most, the Republican base who will be watching?
Well, I think conventional wisdom would tell you that he's so far ahead that he just needs to ignore everybody and he'll be fine. But there's nothing conventional about the circumstances surrounding Trump or this whole election process. And so I do agree with Donna completely. There's a real opportunity for someone to emerge here. And if we look back a few months from now and see someone that's a real threat to Trump, I think they're going to view tonight as a touchstone for that. So if someone does emerge and someone does take advantage of this opportunity, it could be real interesting in the days going forward. I think Trump's base is what it is, but there's also a growing current within that base that is saying, is there a viable alternative out there? Despite whether or not they agree with the charges, the fact remains he's charged with 4 criminal cases. And is that what we want next year? So tonight is a real opportunity, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it unfolds.
It is such a contrast, isn't it? This is a normal process, a normal event in elections, this debate tonight where Trump is caught up in something from 2020 and the chaos of the indictments. So, Donna, which candidate do you think, given those circumstances, has the most to prove and who might have the most opportunity?
Well, the other candidate with double digits, and that is, of course, the governor of Florida, Mr. DeSantis. He has to be worried that perhaps Chris Christie, my former colleague on ABC, the former governor of New Jersey, or even Vice President Mike Pence might take this opportunity to try to contrast themselves with Mr. DeSantis. Also, Nikki Haley is going to try to, the former governor of South Carolina, she's going to try to present herself as someone with an expertise on foreign policy. I still believe one of the sleepers in the race is the senator from the great state of South Carolina, Tim Scott. I say that because I know the senator as someone who's a very thoughtful individual who has real strong conservative values. But look, there's also a few other fresh faces, Mr. Vivek, who's never run before. I think this is going to be a real treat for the American people to see the Republican candidates, to try to figure out if there's an alternative to the former president who's facing so many, accusations and allegations. But this is an opportunity for somebody to break away. And hopefully I mentioned all of their names. I don't know if Mr. Burgum, who was playing a little game of pickup basketball, I should have warned him, be careful after a certain age of playing pickup basketball because sometimes you break something. But it should be a good night for the American people.
That's right. So, the North Dakota governor, Burgum, is a question mark. He's got a high Achilles tear, the Achilles strain. That sounds painful. So, John, I do want to ask the same question to you. Take a look at those candidates that are going to be on the stage, whether 8 with Burgum or 7 without. Who do you think has an opportunity? Who's got the most to lose?
I think they all have an opportunity. I think DeSantis, being the front runner that's actually there amongst the group, has a lot to lose, but he also has a lot to prove because let's face it, his campaign has been shaky at best, and so he's got a lot on the line tonight, I think. The other candidates, like Donna said, they're introducing themselves for the most part, and there's a lot of opportunity for them. One of them that I think is kind of a real fascinating one is Tim Scott, as she mentioned, not only because he's got the credentials just like Nikki Haley does and the others, but he also has a pretty significant war chest. So if he can come out of this thing in a positive light and then capitalize on that in a way that the other candidates may not be able to keep up with financially, that could be real interesting. I think there's an awful lot of individuals here who can really shine. But if he shines, Tim Scott, and then goes from there and puts money down on ads in Iowa and New Hampshire like he's planning, he might be that person that emerges. But I think they all have that opportunity tonight, every single one of them.
The shadow of Donald Trump looms large, but this is an opportunity for these candidates to show that there may be another way and that they might be it. ABC News contributors Donna Brazil, John Katko, thanks very much.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
And now let's bring in ABC News political director Rick Klein. So, Rick, with the elephant not in the room there, right? The dominant frontrunner Donald Trump is over on X tonight. This seems like a real opportunity for other candidates. So are there particular candidates that you might see this as a make or break moment for them who need to get the momentum going?
Yeah, Terry, all debate performances are not created equal, and the bar is different for different candidates, in part because it's only going to get harder from here to qualify for future debates. They need to quell the concerns among donors. They need to show that they've got some momentum. They need to break through in some way. I've got my eyes on Chris Christie tonight. I think he is someone that really needs to have a strong performance. Mike Pence, who had a surprisingly hard time even getting the number of donations to qualify for the first debate, he's got to show that he's got it to keep going. And yeah, we've talked a lot about the two men in the middle, the two youngest candidates, Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis. The knives are going to be out for them. They are the ones that are going to face a lot of the scrutiny. And look, frankly, I think for DeSantis, the expectations are pretty low. I've talked to a lot of people here that are still saying that maybe he doesn't have the talent to emerge as a serious frontrunner. But this is a big chance for him. You can sort of reset the deck and start to craft a different storyline for your campaign from here.
And we talk about this as an opportunity with the dominant frontrunner, Donald Trump, who sucks up all the oxygen out of a room, not there. But is it? Do you think the base, which Trump seems to have such a rock-solid hold on, will listen and maybe change their minds? What do you think?
Look, there's nothing that we've seen so far in the dynamics of this race in public or private polling that says that this is a wide open race. But there is a segment of voters out there that wants an alternative to Donald Trump. They haven't coalesced behind a particular candidate, but they've showed at least an openness to consider someone else. So if you think about this as sort of a race for the Trump alternative, maybe a race for second place or a race for that head-to-head, that kind of changes and clarifies what this debate means. And in some ways, having Trump not out there is a more honest distillation of that field, because literally Trump cannot be replaced in that field. He's got that front-runner status. The other guys don't want to be the one who's still standing against Trump.
And as our political director, I want to ask you about the politics of the media here. Trump is over on X, that formerly Twitter, owned by Elon Musk, talking to Tucker Carlson. How competitive do you think that is? Do you think that will actually drain a significant number of Republicans from this main event?
I don't think it's going to significantly impact the ratings. I think Trump's non-presence here probably does have an impact. But I've talked to the Trump campaign. They want to look at the numbers. They want to see that the view counter rise. And they're very excited about a very large number that will certainly be larger than the number of live views around the debate tonight on Fox and over the traditional way of watching cable. But that isn't the same as saying it's the same megaphone. And a taped interview with Tucker Carlson isn't going to have the reach that these other candidates are going to enjoy tonight. It's part of what Trump is buying. And it's also, I think it shows you a little bit of the position that Trump's engaged in. He's been warring with Fox News. To go with someone that Fox News fired pretty recently is a bit of a poke in the eye, and him trying to establish that he can do this on his own and he doesn't need the megaphone of even Fox News.
Yeah, we'll see. Fascinating. Political Director Rick Klein, have fun out there. We'll see you later. Thanks very much.
You bet. Thanks.
Well, a little while ago, our Rachel Scott caught up with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' chief of staff, who spoke about what his boss hopes to accomplish tonight. Take a listen.
You've been with DeSantis for years now. Close advisor, you know him well. What is his strategy heading into tonight?
His strategy is just to remain confident and come ready to tell his vision to the American people. A lot of people still don't know who he is. They don't know the husband, the father, the veteran that he is, who was inspired by 9/11 to go and serve along Navy SEALs in Iraq. He's the guy that shows up. He showed up after 9/11 to serve our country. He showed up in Florida, fighting the COVID narrative. He reopened schools, reopened businesses. He showed up for businesses and families. And he showed up after the hurricane. He was down in Southwest Florida almost every day fighting to rebuild bridges and get relief to people that were in need. And most importantly, he's showing up tonight. He's going to share his vision, and people are going to understand who he is, the strongest, most principled leader, the guy most prepared to beat Joe Biden.
Who is not showing up is former President Donald Trump. What impact do you think that has on that debate stage? Should the former president be here tonight?
I do think he should be here. I think this election is one that has to be earned. Nobody comes in just deserving to be reelected. You have to come, you have to work for it, you have to earn it, and you have to show that your vision is the best for the future of this country. Ron DeSantis, he's going to show up. Like always, he rolls up his sleeves, he goes to work, and he's the only guy on that stage that has proven results. In Florida, he's transfigured our economy into the strongest it's ever been. We have universal school choice, infrastructure exploding, record-setting tax relief. He has proven results. So the former president not being here, at the end of the day, we're going to move on and we're going to share our vision for the future.
I've been out on the campaign trail with the Florida governor. He's been doing town halls, bus tours. You mentioned he still wants to introduce himself to the American people, to voters out there. What does success look like tonight?
I think tonight success is just coming out and doing what needs to be done. Talking about how this country is broken. It's in decline, militarily, economically, culturally, and he is the guy best prepared, the strongest leader who can actually reverse that decline. I think so many working class families at home, they're being told by the Biden administration that we're at a 2-year low on inflation, that things are back to normal, but they're not buying that. They know that household products, food, rent, gas, inflation is still there, 40 to 60% higher than it was before the pandemic. They're not buying that, and Ron DeSantis has the vision, the platform, and the experience, the proven leadership to actually end that decline.
He wants to focus on his vision for the country. As the candidate that's on that stage with the highest poll numbers, is he bracing for an onslaught of attacks?
Is who bracing?
DeSantis.
Oh, yeah. He undoubtedly will be the center of attack. We're ready for that. He's just got to do what he's got to do. He's got to show up and share his vision. He's the smartest guy out there. He knows policy back and forth. Like I said, he's got the proven leadership, the credentials from Florida. So he's just got to come, do his job. We're ready for the attacks, and you know, we're not scared.
I'm sure you've seen a lot has been said about the campaign. A lot has been said from allies as well, pushing the Florida governor to go after Vivek Ramaswamy, who will be standing center stage with DeSantis. Does he lean into those attacks? Does he feel the need to call him out tonight?
Governor DeSantis is here to do one thing and one thing alone, and that is talk to the American people at home. That's his audience. That's his target. If other people are going to lobby attacks at him, then, you know, he may have to respond. But at the end of the day, he's talking to the American people.
And how does he deal with Trump not being here? Why hasn't he been able to close the gap with the former president just yet?
Well, number one, I think the polls that are out there are largely misrepresentative of caucus states and early states. Looking historically at this time in elections of past, the person that was polling at the front didn't necessarily win those states. So we still feel good about it. I will tell you, Governor DeSantis has the largest ground game in the early states of any candidates, a record-setting ground game as compared to candidates in the primaries of past. The super PAC that's out there has knocked on over 1 million doors. We've got county chairs in all 99 counties in Iowa. He will visit all 99 counties. The ground game shows the people of Iowa, they love meeting this governor. They love his beautiful family. They love his ideas, and they're open to a change going forward.
And he'll be right back on the campaign trail starting tomorrow, right?
He will. He'll be back in Iowa, and we're excited to get him there.
All right, James, so appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Optimism from the DeSantis camp. Thanks to Rachel for that. Let's bring in Galen Druk with 538. Galen, you've been looking at polling ahead of the debate about who Republican voters are thinking about voting for. So other than Trump, what are you hearing?
Yeah, in fact, 538 conducted a set of polling along with Ipsos and the Washington Post, asking questions along the lines of who are you open to supporting, not just who do you support today in this Republican primary. And that's an important indicator because the people watching the debate tonight, a lot of them are going to be, at least the people who are voting in the Republican primary, are going to be people who may like several of these candidates. You know, they're all Republican. They could throw their support behind several. So what we found in this polling is, unsurprisingly, about 2/3 of Republican voters say that they support Trump. They would be willing to vote for him. Other than that, it's really Ron DeSantis whose numbers are up there. You know, a bare majority, 51% of Republican voters say they'd be open to supporting DeSantis. And then after that, it really drops off. Just about a quarter saying they'd be willing to support Nikki Haley, Tim Scott, folks like that. And so when we're thinking about potential energy, like who can convert that potential energy into kinetic energy, if you will, tonight, it seems like DeSantis is the one who's most primed to take that on.
And Galen, just looking at that chart and where some of those candidates are positioned, it looks like maybe some candidates are trying to make a name for themselves with this debate.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So for folks who pay attention to political media, it may seem like this campaign has been going on for quite some time. But for many folks, this may be the first night that they're really tuning into this campaign in a real way. And folks who have been all over the media doing interviews like Vivek Ramaswamy, only about 50% of Republican voters even know who he is. And so there are going to be folks who are just trying to make a name for themselves, trying to increase their name recognition, whether it's because they want to be president or it's because they want to get a book deal or build an email list for a future campaign. But it's not just name recognition that matters here. Folks like Chris Christie have high name recognition. Same with Mike Pence. They're not particularly well liked, though, amongst the Republican voters who know them. So it's important to also look at net favorability. So who amongst, when Republican voters know them, polls well, who has favorable ratings? Those folks are, say, Tim Scott, DeSantis, Nikki Haley, people like that, Vivek Ramaswamy as well. And so those people already have a good footing with Republican voters that they may also be able to capitalize on once they get higher name recognition after tonight's debate.
Yeah, that is so interesting, Galen. Vivek Ramaswamy who 50% of Republicans don't really know, has still moved well in the polls and has that high favorability. He's making every appearance count. So who are you going to be most focused on tonight?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Real talk. I mean, the folks that are gathered around the debate protesting or supporting candidates are highly partisan people who've been paying attention to this for a long time. But we went up to Cedarburg, Wisconsin earlier this week to talk with folks who may not be as keyed in, and even people who told me that they watch conservative media still could only name maybe one or two candidates apart from Trump. So these kinds of debates, these kinds of focusing events really matter in terms of priming people to maybe support someone. Having said that, what am I focused on tonight? It's DeSantis. Look, back in March, according to our polling averages at 538, he was at about 35%, within reach of Trump, who was in the mid-40s. Today, on average, he's polling at 15%. We know from the polling I just described that he's still well liked by Republicans. Republicans are still open to voting for him, especially in the early states. Well over a majority of Iowans say they're open to supporting him. So can he turn that into actual support in the polls? Not just I'm open, but he did a good job on the debate tonight. He was a strong candidate. He made his case, maybe talked not just about Trump, but also some of these issues, and solidified support in the polls. Not just openness, but real solid support. So that's what I want to see.
All right, Galen Druk, we'll be watching with you. Thanks very much. Well, we want to turn the page now as the clock counts down to the Friday deadline for the 19 people indicted by Fulton County for conspiring to overturn the 2020 election results in the state of Georgia. Today, the mugshot of Rudy Giuliani was released. This as the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is expected to turn himself in tomorrow. ABC senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky is in Atlanta for us.
Tonight, the man once known as America's mayor swarmed by reporters as he left the Fulton County jail after he had his mugshot taken like a common criminal.
This indictment is a travesty.
Today, many asking what happened to Rudy Giuliani.
People like to say I'm different. I'm the same Rudy Giuliani that took down the mafia.
But Giuliani is now charged with the same crime he used to pursue the mob as a crusading U.S. attorney in New York, racketeering. The former mayor, who was said to be nearly broke, arrived in Atlanta aboard a private plane. He's now free on a $150,000 bond, the biggest after former President Trump's.
All right, guys, make some space, please.
I'm being prosecuted for defending an American citizen who I do as a lawyer.
The indictment says Giuliani did much more than that, peddling lies about election fraud.
Our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro.
And falsely accusing poll workers Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman of stealing votes.
Quite obviously, surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
Today, Giuliani ignored questions about the lies he told.
I will tell you,
Giuliani's fellow lawyers also surrendering today. Sidney Powell, who pushed the outrageous conspiracy theory that voting machines were controlled by Venezuela, and Jenna Ellis, who falsely claimed ballots were manipulated. Tomorrow, it's Trump's turn. The accused leader of the alleged criminal conspiracy saying, "I will proudly be arrested tomorrow afternoon in Georgia."
And Aaron Katersky joins us now in Georgia. Aaron, Donald Trump heading your way tomorrow. What can we expect when the former president arrives at the Fulton County jail there?
He's expected to land here in Atlanta and immediately come here, Terry, and sheriff's deputies will be waiting to record his height and weight, fingerprint him, and take his mugshot. Unlike his 3 other criminal cases, though, Terry, Trump does not immediately have to enter a plea in court. Instead, the district attorney, Fani Willis, wants him back here in 2 weeks for arraignment, and if the judge agrees, there would be cameras in court for that. Terry, if I could tell you about one other piece of news in this case tonight, and it involves Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. He's been trying to move all of this into federal court. A judge tonight did not immediately rule on that, but he did say it should not keep Meadows from surrendering. And so the former chief of staff is due here by noon on Friday to turn himself in. Terry, that's something he had hoped to avoid.
Absolutely quite a scene there. And Aaron, thanks for reporting on it for us as always. And we'll continue with our coverage of the first Republican debate, but still much more to get to here on Prime. A disturbing scene. Police rescue a woman found chained up inside a home with the windows boarded. How she found a way to get a message out, pleading for help. But next, the death of mercenary leader behind a failed revolt against Vladimir Putin. What we're learning about the suspicious plane crash that killed him.
Whenever news breaks.
The crush of families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado.
From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight.
We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
And welcome back. We pivot now to other headlines happening in our nation. In Pittsburgh, a community on edge after an active shooting situation led to people being evacuated from houses in the area, others told to shelter in place. ABC's Trevor Ault is on the ground for us there with this report.
Tonight, the sound of gunfire. Hundreds of shots raining down on a Pittsburgh neighborhood under siege for hours. The incident erupting around 10:30 this morning.
We have multiple shots fired.
Deputies from Allegheny County Sheriff's Office trying to serve an eviction notice in the Garfield neighborhood met with a barrage of gunfire. The suspect firing repeatedly at officers, even shooting down police drones.
A tremendous police presence, SWAT vehicles, multiple dozens of police vehicles actually surrounding about a 4-block area. We have seen multiple shots fired from inside one of these row houses along Broad Street, actually knocking a drone out of the sky as the police tried to get that drone inside the home.
Authorities trying to safely rescue bystanders in the crossfire. Heavily armed SWAT officers pulling this resident out of the home next door into that armored vehicle. 12-year-old Christopher outside with his cousin running for cover.
One of the cops gave them a sledgehammer to break down the door. Right after that, they just started to fire. Police knocked on the door and they came and get us. And so we were all the way down there, and then we had to run all the way up there.
How are you doing right now?
I'm just a little, I'm scared because I thought I could be safe here and I can't.
The rounds continue to fire well into the afternoon.
Here we go, more gunfire. This is unbelievable. This is what we hear every 15, 20 minutes.
ABC affiliate WTAE speaking on the phone with the son of the man believed to be inside the home. That son making this plea.
Please surrender. Please give up. You have children and grandchildren that love you dearly. Please stand down.
Based on what we were talking about earlier, does he believe that this house rightfully belongs to him?
Yes, very much so.
Late today, officials confirming the suspect is deceased.
We certainly didn't expect what we were up against.
WTAE identifying him as 63-year-old William Hardison.
And Trevor Alt is with us now from Pittsburgh. Trevor, with the evictions on the rise in so many places in this country, serving an eviction order can be dangerous, so much stress. Were authorities expecting this?
Well, they certainly weren't expecting something of this level, Terry, but they did say they were aware ahead of time that this eviction particularly might be challenging. So the sheriff says that they actually strategized a specific plan and they brought 7 deputies to execute it. That is far more than usual. But the sheriff still says that they had no idea the suspect was going to be armed. And as we've heard, they never expected this. Terry.
Sad story of the times. Trevor Alt, thanks very much.
Thank you.
And here in New York City, a young woman who shoved a beloved 87-year-old Broadway singing coach down to the ground, leaving her to die, entered a plea. ABC Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has the details.
Tonight, a somber ending to a tragic story of senseless violence in New York. Lauren Pazienza today pleading guilty to manslaughter, admitting that she shoved beloved Broadway voice coach Barbara Gustern in a fit of random rage on a New York City street in March of 2022. Gustern fell, hitting her head, dying days later of a fatal brain injury. New Yorkers were shocked at the insanity of the story. Pazienza apparently was angry after being asked to leave a Manhattan park where she was having wine with her fiancé. She apparently grew furious, threw dinner at her fiancé, leaving, only to encounter Miss Gustern a few minutes later. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg today releasing a statement saying that Pazienza, 28, aggressively shoved Barbara Gustern to the ground and walked away as the beloved New Yorker lay there bleeding. Here's Pazienza walking the street that day. She reached a deal in which she will spend 8 years in prison in the story of a life lost for no good reason. Gustern's grandson told the New York Times today he wished the case had gone to trial. He also said he wanted a stiffer sentence. Just a terrible story. Terry?
Pierre Thomas, indeed. Thank you very much for that report. Well, an all-male Supreme Court in South Carolina has decided to reverse course and continue upholding a strict 6-week ban on abortions in that state. The state's highest court says while they acknowledge that the new law infringes on, quote, a woman's right of privacy and bodily autonomy, they default to the embryo. And we'll have more on that as that case develops over the months, but still much more to get to. Former football player Reggie Bush is going up against the NCAA now. Why he's saying they ruined his reputation and what he's seeking for in a new lawsuit. But next, as we look forward to the first GOP presidential debate, some candidates are making their age a selling point. We take a closer look by the numbers.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers
in Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital, destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
I am the happy face killer.
We've got a letter signed with a smiley face.
You know, happy face, smile, and 2 eyes.
He's teasing the police. Like, here I am, see if you can find me.
Once my parents divorced, my father's behavior became more erratic and creepy. I just need to take a break for a minute.
I always believed that the truth would come out eventually. I just didn't think the truth would come out of the mouth of a serial killer.
2020, Friday at 9/8 Central on ABC.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about, the new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
It was the ideal marriage. Little did I know I was married to a man who had done something so horrible that it would devastate our lives forever.
Teacher of the Year is now charged with sex crimes.
Only on Hulu.
He was living a double life.
The shocking story behind a #1 true crime podcast.
Prostitutes, escorts. He even cheated on me the week of our wedding.
Betrayal, the perfect husband.
He had a lot of fantasies.
Now streaming only on Hulu.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
This is where the newsmakers come first in the morning to be heard. America's #1 morning show.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000. Yeah. Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
Wherever the story, ABC's Good Morning America is right there.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey, I'm David Muir. Wherever the story, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
As the GOP candidates take the stage tonight, there will be a wide range of ages up there on stage as they all vie to turn the page on President Biden and on Donald Trump, with some making the call for generational change. So let's take a look by the numbers. In her February announcement speech, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley raised some eyebrows by calling for, quote, mandatory mental competency tests for politicians over 75 years old. Now, that was a not-so-veiled shot at President Biden, who would be 82 years old if he were to win re-election and serve a second term. And it was also a bit of trolling of former President Trump, who will be 78 next year during a 2024 run. Haley, by contrast, she's just 51 years old as she calls for a new generation of leaders. And she was elected at the age of 38 to her first term as governor in South Carolina. Vivek Ramaswamy is 38 right now. He's going to be the youngest candidate on stage in tonight's debate as he makes the case for the first millennial in the White House. You have to be just 35 years old to be commander-in-chief, per the Constitution. And Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he's just 44 years old as he tries to remain the top alternative to former President Trump. Senator Tim Scott, he comes in at 57 years old, while former Governor Chris Christie is 60. And both, they've got birthdays next month. And at 64 years old, Trump's former running mate Mike Pence also comes in on the relatively younger side, given our main leading candidates, at least compared to Trump and Biden there. And as for how the age argument will play out in the 2024 presidential race, only time will tell. Much more here ahead on Prime. Video shows an elementary school teacher accused of drinking on the job. What she claimed was actually in her cup. And as we prepare for the first presidential debate, there are questions about just how much artificial intelligence will play a role in this election, what it could mean for the 2024 campaign season.
What does it take to be America's #1 news? It takes asking the straightforward, tough questions.
Do you believe that Donald Trump should ever be president again?
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah.
Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
The news-making interviews.
You said that there were 6 friends. One of them was sick.
Yeah.
Do you have future political aspirations?
going to the front line.
The search for survivors. How does this war end?
And getting to the heart of the story.
Thank you for being here. We'll be here for the long run.
ABC News, #1 in the morning, the #1 newscast, #1 in daytime talk, Friday nights, Sunday mornings versus the competition, and the #1 streaming news. Thank you for making ABC News America's trusted, straightforward first choice.
First thing in the morning.
There's a lot going on.
Everybody in that home is okay.
To catch you up with what happened overnight. We are here at fashion's biggest night out.
What's happening today? YouTube has unveiled a new set of policies.
What people are talking about. The new ad campaign.
Fast, straightforward.
With some fun in between.
A real-life Barbie dream house.
A name change for the Wienermobile.
First thing in the morning.
America This Morning.
America's #1 early morning news.
On ABC News Live.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes!
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're gonna love it.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
How cute.
Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Body camera video shows officers rescuing a woman found chained inside of a home. An elementary school teacher is accused of drinking on the job, and Reggie Bush files a lawsuit against the NCAA. These stories and more in tonight's Rundown.
Louisville police responded to a harrowing 911 call. Neighbors said a woman screaming for help inside a house. Police say the house was barricaded on the first floor, so they climbed a ladder into the second floor window, finding a woman with a locked chain around her neck bolted to the floor. They freed her using bolt cutters. Police say a suspect was taken into custody days later. Founders of crypto company Tornado Cash are charged with laundering more than $1 billion of digital currency, including hundreds of millions of dollars going to a sanctioned North Korean hacking organization. The Department of Justice said today that the company promoted the website as an untraceable and anonymous way to transfer cryptocurrency. One of the founders was arrested today.
Opening statements are underway in the final trial in the alleged plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. 14 men were accused of planning to abduct the governor at her vacation home in 2020. So far, 9 have been convicted and 3 men are defendants in this final trial. Prosecutors say they are linked to a local militia group who are angry over the governor's COVID policies.
2 sibling puma cubs have found a new home in the city of brotherly love. The Philadelphia Zoo announced the arrival of the puma cubs who were rescued from Washington State earlier this year. Zoo officials believe the pair were orphaned after their mother was shot by a farmer.
Tonight, the newly released police video in Perkins, Oklahoma. Authorities arresting a teacher accused of being drunk in her third-grade classroom on the first day of school. Police say staff members found teacher Kimberly Coates holding a full cup of wine in her classroom. She claimed it was juice, insisting the last drink she had was at 3 a.m. Police say a breathalyzer test revealed her alcohol level was 3 times the legal limit.
Former football star Reggie Bush is suing the NCAA. The former USC running back says the college athletics organization defamed him by suggesting he was paid to play in college. In 2010, the NCAA conducted an investigation and found Bush and his family received cash and a home in San Diego from the team. After that, his playing records were wiped, and Bush had to give back his Heisman Trophy due to the allegations. He wants that back, too.
I got dreams of walking back in here and seeing my jersey, my banner, right down there next to the rest of the Heisman Trophy winners.
And we want to focus more on Reggie Bush's bombshell lawsuit against the NCAA. Let's bring in ABC News legal contributor Brian Buckmeyer. So, Brian, an NCAA investigation found Reggie Bush had received gifts, and the NCAA has declined to reconsider its ruling. So what's Reggie Bush's argument here to get his records restored?
So Reggie, Terry, is saying that it's a little bit different than what was purported in that defamatory statement, that he didn't actually get paid to play, but may have gotten, and they say may because they're not agreeing to these allegations, but may have gotten what would have been illegal or improper gifts at the time in which he was playing. But now that the name, image, and likeness rules have changed, Reggie is arguing that under the new rules, he would have been allowed to play, and he should not have been sanctioned based on the allegations of someone that they're saying should not have been considered credible based on litigation that came afterwards. So if you're applying these new rules now that NIL players are able to get money off of their name, image, and likeness, that Reggie Bush should now be able to get back everything he lost from that, what he's arguing, now defunct investigation into him.
Yeah, he was such a great back, and I can't imagine how angry he must be to see these name, image, and likeness rules basically allow players to get money. And I wonder, he also wants to restore his reputation, but can he do that in a legal case?
I don't really think so, and this is why I say that. I'm a former Division II All-American, and from what I know from the NCAA, they play by their rules. They make the rules, and they tell you how they're going to be enforced. And so even if he is able to show that the NCAA improperly relied on someone else's testimony that then made him lose his Heisman Award trophy, the NCAA has this rule of not revisiting their own cases. And so there's not really anywhere they can go. And sure, he may win in the court of public opinion and everyone say, hey, Ben Crump and his attorneys have shown us that this is improper, but the NCAA will probably just say, too bad, so sad. And for a college athlete of this caliber to, as he says, not be able to go back to his alma mater and see his name, his image, his trophy as that of a Heisman, especially when the Heisman Trust has said they take him back if the NCAA reverses course, that's something that even the law may not be able to give him back.
Yeah, it's a shame. Brian Buckmeyer, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Well, as artificial intelligence empowers people in so many ways, but also blurs the line between fact and fiction, it started to appear on the campaign trail. With the rise of AI-powered tools that can create hyper-realistic fakes. ABC senior reporter Emmanuel Saliba tracks the race to restore trust online ahead of the 2024 election.
With the 2024 race in full swing, candidates vying to be the next president are engaging in all the expected campaign activities. But they're also the first to face generative AI, tools that can produce human-like content from text to audio to video with a simple prompt. From hyper-realistic AI images falsely depicting what appears to be President Biden in Republican Party ads, to candidates using this technology to create fabricated images of their opponents doing things they never did, and even a virtual candidate answering questions.
Hi, I'm AI Francis Suarez.
But with technology developing at lightning speed, it's becoming harder to tell what's real and what's not, especially online.
Think about the way in which we make our decisions on who we vote for, what we believe.
so much of it is coming from what we see and hear online.
This is Munir Ibrahim. He works for TruePic, a software company that developed new camera technology allowing users to save details about how and where a photo or video was taken.
The average person viewing that, the content consumer, has the right to know if that actually was made by Gen AI or was an authentic image coming from a camera. And just giving them that information allows them to make a better decision.
His tool is a possible solution to the proliferation of misleading content flooding our feeds. We tested the technology in Central Park.
Munir, we just took a photo of Sheep's Meadow with TruePic technology. How is that different from taking a photo with your app's phone?
While it looked and felt just like a standard image that you would take on any phone, what our technology did is it authenticated the authenticity and veracity of the image.
TruePic is part of the Content Authenticity Initiative, a coalition of companies hoping to restore trust in what we see online. Every piece of digital content has a history, and they believe that history should be transparent to the public. We took our image to Adobe, a founding member of this group, where Chief Trust Officer and General Counsel Dana Rao showed us how this new standard can be implemented through every step of a photo's journey.
So you're not trying to tell people what's fake and what's real. You're showing them if the content has been altered and how it's been altered.
That's right. Think of it as a nutrition label for content. So like a nutrition label, when you're eating the food, you know what you're consuming while you're consuming it. So this nutrition label, this metadata that goes with the image, it tells you the important information about that content. Who took it, when it was taken, where it was taken, and what edits were made. You get to decide for yourself whether or not you want to believe it.
We asked Adobe to show us how this nutrition label, what they call content credentials, would work if images altered using AI.
Type in any sentence, describe whatever you want, and the AI will make up a new image based on that sentence. So why don't you add some pigeons so this picture looks a little more realistic, because I've been to Central Park, there's always pigeons.
So it may not be so easy to spot the changes online.
So here we are at the social media feed that you could be consuming your daily news from. And you go through the feed and you see an image that you like, and you just simply click on the icon there, and you'll be able to see information. Again, this was like the nutrition label for the content. It tells you what happened to the image, where it was taken, who made it, and the edits that were made along the way.
Rao acknowledges the only way this will work is if there's a wide public adoption and if social media companies allow these credentials to be displayed on their platforms.
We're talking to all the social media platforms right now. We're very excited about the conversation that's going on about transparency and watermarking. You know, we expect soon, hopefully by the 2024 elections, when this is going to be very important, this technology will be everywhere.
The stakes for democracy couldn't be higher. Professor Hani Farid, who specializes in digital forensics at UC Berkeley, says generative AI threatens to further erode our already embattled information ecosystem.
For the last few election cycles, the difference between one candidate and the other is measured in tens of thousands of votes. There's a handful of states, a handful of districts where you move 50,000 votes in one direction or another. That's the ball game. And between social media, algorithmic manipulation, fake content, existing distrust of governments and media and scientists, I don't think that's out of the question. And that, to me, is worrisome that our very democracy we are talking about here is at stake.
But Farid believes the conversations happening now will lead to change.
Is there hope?
I think that the technologists, the C-suite of the tech companies, the government, and the media dropped the ball for the first 20 years of technology. I think we were all just running full speed ahead, thinking this is great, this is great, this is great, and we all woke up 20 years later with a pretty bad hangover. And as we enter this new age of generative AI and AI in general, I don't see us repeating that mistake. I think our regulators are asking a lot of good questions, and they're having hearings, and we're having conversations, and we're doing briefings, and I think that's good. I think we have to now act on all of this.
With the 2024 election quickly approaching, experts are urging that we need these solutions now.
We don't want to see an election won or lost based on some viral deepfake. We have to have those protections in place in time.
Well, thanks for that. And that's our show for this hour. I'm Terry Moran. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, our coverage on the first Republican presidential debate continues as the top contenders take the stage in Milwaukee. And a tropical storm hit the Dominican Republic. The fears now as the country grapples with the potentially life-threatening aftermath.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
It was the ideal marriage. Little did I know I was married to a man who had done something so horrible that it would devastate our lives forever.
Teacher of the Year is now charged with sex crimes.
Only on Hulu.
He was living a double life.
The shocking story behind a #1 true crime podcast.
Prostitutes, escorts. He even cheated on me the week of our wedding.
Betrayal, the perfect husband.
He had a lot of fantasies.
Now streaming only on Hulu.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is the King Road Killings. The full series is out now. Listen to every episode wherever you get your podcasts.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Terry Moran, in for Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Tonight, the stage is set for the first Republican presidential debate in Milwaukee. 8 candidates will be there. Of course, that does not include former President Donald Trump. So here are the 8 Republicans who will be on the stage, including North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum, who tore his Achilles tendon playing pickup basketball yesterday. But the question many are asking is, can any of these candidates make a name for themselves tonight, a connection with voters? And how will that shake up the race? Rachel Scott reports tonight from Milwaukee.
Tonight in Milwaukee, a pivotal moment in the Republican primary. 8 candidates taking the debate stage for the first time. But the man dominating the field, the undisputed frontrunner Donald Trump, will not be there.
He didn't have the guts or the respect to show up on that stage and defend his record and advocate for the future of America.
With Trump skipping the debate, all eyes will be on his closest rival, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been trying to revive his campaign after several stumbles. He says he is the only candidate on that stage with a real shot at the White House.
I'm not running to be vice president. I'm not running to be in the cabinet, and I'm not running to be a contributor on cable news. We're running to win.
But others are hoping for a breakout moment, like entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy, a fierce defender of Trump, now rising in his own right. His rivals hoping to blunt his momentum.
And Rachel Scott joins us now from Milwaukee. Rachel, it's getting close, and we're getting word now that not only is Donald Trump not at that debate, but maybe he won't be at the next debate, too.
Terry, he's a no-show tonight, and then a senior advisor for the former president says that he will not be showing up to the next debate in California at the Reagan Library either. The former president continues to point to his commanding lead in this race as a reason why he can skip these debates. And of course, Trump changes his mind all the time, so we could see this change in the future. Even though he's not on that stage, sources close to him tell me he will certainly be watching tonight, Terry.
He will, and his absence does represent an opportunity for these other candidates. So on the stage tonight, what are you going to be looking for?
It is a big opportunity for the rest of this very crowded Republican field. So I'm interested to see two things: how they take on the frontrunner who is not on the stage. But at the end of the day, when I go out across the country and I talk to voters, they want to hear about the policy issues. So I'm really looking to see where these rivals distinguish themselves from each other on these key issues of abortion, of immigration, things that the American people and Republican voters are concerned about, Terry.
All right, Rachel Scott in Milwaukee there. Have a good night. Thanks very much. We turn now to a stunning turn overseas. The mercenary leader behind that attempted coup against Vladimir Putin has died in a suspicious plane crash. This video shows the plane plunging from the sky 100 miles north of Moscow, killing all 10 people on board. The Russian aviation agency confirmed Yevgeny Prigozhin, the founder of the Wagner mercenary group who led that mutiny attempt 2 months ago, was on board. Prigozhin was once very close to Vladimir Putin. He was nicknamed Putin's chef until the failed rebellion. He had played a vital role in the Kremlin's war inside of Ukraine. ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge has the late-breaking developments from Ukraine.
Tonight, a stunning twist. The man who led a rebellion against the Kremlin said to be on board this plane, plummeting to the ground. The private jet, which went down not far from Moscow, belonged to Yevgeny Prigozhin, the boss of the notorious Wagner mercenary group. Another angle seen here in video circulating online, showing the plane suddenly plunging from its cruising altitude of 28,000 feet. Russia's state aviation agency saying Prigozhin was on board. Pro-Wagner sources saying he was one of 10 people killed. Videos circulating online from the crash site showing what appears to be puncture marks in the wreckage. Experts saying this points to the likelihood of a missile strike, not a bomb blast.
If it had been a bomb on board, we would have seen deformation that would have been expanding out of the aircraft. Right now, we're seeing the puncture holes that are a signature of a surface-to-air or an air-to-air missile impacting that aircraft.
President Biden today asked if he thought Putin was involved.
I don't know for a fact what happened, but I'm not surprised. There's not much that happens when Russia and Putin not behind.
Prigozhin, a billionaire and a one-time close ally of President Putin. Thousands of his Wagner soldiers were fighting in Ukraine. But Prigozhin fell out with Russia's Ministry of Defense and then mounted a rebellion, taking control of a key Russian city, threatening to march on the Kremlin. Putin calling Wagner traitors, but then reportedly cutting a deal. With the powerful mercenary boss then saying his fighters were moving next door to Belarus. Prigozhin, last seen in this video, released 2 days ago, bragging he was back to business in Africa, where his group is accused of murdering and torturing civilians. But with questions swirling about the fate of Prigozhin's last flight, President Putin tonight at a concert. Wagner's failed mutiny made him look weak. Tonight, the Russian leader smiling and seemingly at ease.
Tom Sufi-Burridge, thank you for that report. Well, as the clock counts down to the Friday deadline for the 19 people indicted by Fulton County for conspiring to overturn the election results in 2020 in Georgia, today the mugshot of Rudy Giuliani was released. This as the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, is expected to turn himself in tomorrow. ABC's senior investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky is in Atlanta for us.
Tonight, the man once known as America's mayor, sworn by reporters as he left the Fulton County Jail after he had his mugshot taken like a common criminal.
This indictment is a travesty.
Today, many asking what happened to Rudy Giuliani.
People like to say I'm different. I'm the same Rudy Giuliani that took down the mafia.
But Giuliani is now charged with the same crime he used to pursue the mob as a crusading U.S. attorney in New York, racketeering. The former mayor, who was said to be nearly broke, arrived in Atlanta aboard a private plane. He's now free on a $150,000 bond, the biggest after former President Trump's.
All right, guys, make some space, please.
I'm being prosecuted for defending an American citizen who I do as a lawyer.
The indictment says Giuliani did much more than that, peddling lies about election fraud.
Our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro.
And falsely accusing poll workers Shay Moss and Ruby Freeman of stealing votes.
Quite obviously, surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine.
Today, Giuliani ignored questions about the lies he told.
I will tell you,
Giuliani's fellow lawyers also surrendering today. Sidney Powell, who pushed the outrageous conspiracy theory that voting machines were controlled by Venezuela, and Jenna Ellis, who falsely claimed ballots were manipulated. Tomorrow, it's Trump's turn. The accused leader of the alleged criminal conspiracy saying, "I will proudly be arrested tomorrow afternoon in Georgia."
Aaron Katursky, thanks very much. And now to the dangerous heat from Louisiana all the way up to the upper Midwest. More than 100 million Americans. And tonight in Chicago alone, a heat index of 116 degrees. So let's get right to senior meteorologist Rob Marciano, who's tracking it all for us. Hey, Rob.
Hi, Terry. Yeah, that's the highest heat index Chicago has seen since 1995. Their dew point, which is a measure of humidity, got up to 80 degrees. That is crazy humid. Peoria, Illinois, 121 for heat index, and that sets a record there. All right, still a lot of pink on the map, unfortunately, across the upper Midwest to parts of the heartland. That means the excessive heat warnings will be ongoing. 102 in St. Louis, 102 in Kansas City and Wichita. Those temperatures measured in the shade without humidity. Might hit 100 in Chicago tomorrow. That'd be the first time in over a decade there. You fold in the humidity, and again, we're at dangerous levels. 115 in St. Louis, 114 in Little Rock, and 110 in Memphis. Now, after tomorrow, we get a bit of a break. A little cold front comes through the upper Midwest, but the plains and the South remain hot. Dallas, New Orleans, Tampa, temperatures will once again feel like up and over 100, 110 in some spots. Dangerous heat for those folks through the weekend. Terry?
Gotta stay cool. Rob Marciano, thanks very much.
You bet.
We've still got much more to get to. As the candidates take the stage in Milwaukee, what role could Wisconsin play in the election? We take a closer look in our new series, Ground Game. But next, wildfires are spreading in Europe, leading to health warnings across the continent. What's fueling the deadly flames there?
Whenever news breaks.
The crush of families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado.
From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
Reporting from Atlanta, I'm Steve Osunsami. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
We're tracking several headlines around the world tonight. Tropical storm Franklin bore down on Dominican Republic, leaving heavily flooded streets in the capital city. In Santo Domingo, the tide was high and strong. Waves pummeled the shore as local residents waded through deluged streets. There were 312 people who were moved to shelters, according to the Dominican Republic's Center for Emergency Operations. India is celebrating today after becoming the first country to successfully land a spacecraft on the moon's south pole. The mission will begin the search for frozen water on the moon. India is just the 4th country to touch down on the lunar surface. Searing temperatures fueled wildfires and prompted health warnings across Europe as a blaze in Turkey forced the closure of the Dardanelles shipping lane. And winds fanned the flames in Greece, where 20 people have already been killed. Well, as the Republican presidential field flocks to Wisconsin tonight, we're taking a look at the battle over education and parental rights in the Badger State as the new far-right group Moms for Liberty holds major sway in the GOP primary, stirring controversy in battles over what children are taught in schools at the local level across the country. ABC's Mary Alice Parks is on the ground in Wisconsin and has the story.
There you go. Perfect. All right, you ready, Ainsley?
It's the first day of school at the Reederer House in West Bend, Wisconsin.
So Wednesdays is when Dad's going to help us with our religion curriculum.
Danelle Reederer is a former teacher who took her kids out of school and is now homeschooling, all 6 of them.
So we're going to do some of our social studies stuff.
With the kids now playing outside, she shows me textbooks she chose.
Did you see something or have you read something about how U.S. history is being taught around the country that concerned you?
Well, I think it's, again, the different perspectives. I think it's important we know the different perspectives, but at the same time, like I said, I'm white. And, you know, just because I'm white doesn't mean that we were slaveholders. And the way some of the newer curriculum had been worded had been kind of more of those leading topics to kind of make it more guilt-ridden.
Light on details, she tells me she relies on the far-right group Moms for Liberty for a lot of information about what to teach her children. But critics say that the group uses misinformation to play up fears that kids are being indoctrinated to hate America and steered towards transgender identities.
What I like about the website is I can always go and search. Like if I hear like a friend talking like, hey, I'm concerned about this program at school.
Like what?
Is that something to be concerned about? Like social emotional learning.
Okay.
Obviously, we want kids to be able to handle their emotions, handle them appropriately.
Across the country, Moms for Liberty is growing rapidly, with chapters focused on securing more of what they call, quote, parental rights. Chapters have fought to ban books and school curriculums with reference to LGBTQ plus families and promote racial inclusivity and equity. Danelle attended a Moms for Liberty event the day before the first Republican presidential debate in Milwaukee, alongside Osaukee County chapter leader Amber Schrader. Earlier that day, Amber had helped organize a training session for activists led by Moms for Liberty and another conservative group, the Leadership Institute. Laid out front, books some of their members have challenged that some want out of the classroom.
It's a boy wearing a tutu, and it sounds kind of like an innocent book. And at this level, it probably is. If you and I were reading this to our children, it could probably be a sweet book about how boys can like pink and girls can like trucks, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And what we're seeing in schools is the conversations surrounding this on gender identity at really young ages, and it's really confusing, and children don't have the mental capacity to handle that kind of a load at that time.
So you're concerned less about a particular book and more about the conversation you're worried is happening?
Sometimes, yes. Not all the time, but most of the time.
In the past 2 years, Moms for Liberty morphed from a group challenging mask mandates and remote learning during the COVID pandemic to one now targeting specific books and efforts around inclusion.
If we have activist teachers who are breaking the law, they need to be handled, and they should not be in a classroom teaching our children.
A document on the Wisconsin State Chapter website makes unsubstantiated claims such as kids are being taught to pit racial groups against each other. Goal? To teach kids to hate America so they will destroy it. Social media pages for the group's leaders use inflammatory language, suggesting elementary school students are being taught hypersexual topics like pornography. Sensationalist claims that are often factually inaccurate. But the group now boasts of more than 200 chapters across the country, thousands of members. They have endorsed more than 500 school board candidates and become a major player in GOP politics.
On day one, I will sign an executive order instructing every federal agency to cease the promotion of sex or gender transition at any age.
Republican candidates often echoing the group's message.
We need to make sure we have full transparency in the classroom.
We're not teaching kids
to hate our country or to hate each other with your tax dollars.
In Florida, the group worked with Governor Ron DeSantis to pass what critics call the Don't Say Gay bill that bans any discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity until the 8th grade. But that was Florida. This is purple Wisconsin with a Democratic governor. I asked Danelle about DeSantis's law. Is that the kind of thing that you'd support?
Well, I think, again, age appropriateness. It's not my opinion. Like, we are a Christian family. It's God's opinion, or God's law, I should say, not opinion.
Several state officials, teachers' unions, and other parenting groups across the country have come out against Moms for Liberty's agenda. Amy calls them a hate group.
So what's fundamental to public education is the fact that it is extremely democratic and very transparent.
Do you feel like you're under attack?
Our students are under attack daily by policies that deny them the funding that they need.
She says the claim from Moms for Liberty that teachers are going out of their way to start conversations around sexual orientation or race relations is wrong and discounts her students.
Our students are very smart. So, you know, the insinuation is actually extremely condescending and disrespectful of just the brilliance that my students bring to the classroom every single day.
Amy and the Teachers Association in the state say that Moms for Liberty does not represent the majority of parents they are working with, who they say are more concerned about funding shortages, gun violence, and teacher pay. The Wisconsin State Superintendent argues they have not seen major changes to curriculum or access to materials.
So if there are issues with books or curriculum, it goes through those local channels. But overall, Wisconsin's always been known to have a rather robust and inclusive curriculum and library system. And when you look at public education, it's a public good, it's a public service, it's intended to serve all kids. And I think that there are certain groups out there, perhaps like the Moms for Liberty group, whose focus, I don't believe, is serving all kids.
She says she's in favor of more parental involvement, that is good for kids, but argues misinformation is a real problem.
Public schools are inclusive, they don't discriminate, they educate everybody, and we prepare kids for a future that's inclusive.
But Amber says they are just getting started in the state. I asked her about those online materials. Do you think that in schools in Wisconsin, they are teaching kids to hate America so they will destroy it?
We're not teaching the same civic values that we used to be.
With the school year starting, she talks up the group at a neighborhood back-to-school event.
When you realize that you're not alone and another parent or another family or another child is having the same issue as you or your children, it empowers you to get involved. We only want what's best for kids, and we are working hard to protect our freedoms, to protect liberty, and to make sure that children are getting the best education possible.
Our thanks to Mary Alice Parks for that story. And still to come, what would your everyday human experiences feel like if you weren't from this planet? The creator of Strange Planet tells us how his popular web series became the inspiration for a new animated show.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans turn here than any other newscast. ABC News World News Tonight with David Muir, America's #1 most watched newscast across all of television. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you?
Yes. So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
And it's time tonight for the latest in our series, Streamlined, where we take you behind some of the biggest films and TV series hitting screens worldwide. So, have you ever wondered what human experiences might feel like to beings who are not from this planet? One comic created a world of just that, the animated series Strange Planet explores the absurdities of daily life told through a peculiar perspective. Let's take a look.
What if our world wasn't the only one where existence is absurd?
Please refer to the danger menu for tips on how not to die.
If your seat is in the peril row, you must help us take the machine apart. Your reward is more legroom.
So joining us now is the mind behind Strange Planet, Nathan Pyle. Nathan, welcome. That looks funny.
Thank you so much.
As you said in one of your comics, thank you for finding us today.
That's right.
And I guess so. We did a little research. Obviously, before this was a television show, Strange Planet was a web series, as we can see on the screen. So you've been doing this for years. How did this idea, this perspective on human life and how that might be fun and funny, how did that first come about?
Well, I'd drawn comics for years, but it was moving in with my wife. My wife and I, after getting married, we moved into a tiny apartment in New York City. And you're forced to really evaluate how you live and why you make the decisions you make, and even some small preferences that you might have that someone else doesn't share. That's really what started the whole series. We were trying to clean up for a party and hiding everything we owned, and that was the very first comic.
Cool. We're looking at it now. By the way, I love the color palette of it. It's really, it's wonderful to look at, too. But so the comic's pretty well known. So talk about the opportunity for you to turn this into a TV series. Was this surprising to you?
Well, there was a lot of momentum the first year of the comic. I made one new comic every day, and we went from a small following to 2 million, 3 million in the first year or so. And then I talked to Dan Harmon and Steve Levy out in California, and I talked to Shadow Machine, who made BoJack and most recently Pinocchio, really experts in the field of animation. And I knew that we had a great team put together. And then, of course, Apple was a great home for it. It really made sense for all those people to come together.
That's fantastic. In the comics, as we saw a little bit in the clip, the dialogue's very literal, very straightforward. They're taking a straightforward look at our life, which makes it in a funny way. Tell me about the process of making sure that that tone which you achieved in the comic carried over to the television series. Was that hard?
Well, we always had guiding kind of North Stars. I said to any voice actor who came in, don't be meaner than the meanest Muppet. There's a kind of a level of wholesomeness that the Muppets always achieved. And that, to me, was really the guiding star. And so really, when we were looking at this, we wanted these beings to be emotionally advanced rather than technologically advanced. The idea is there's another planet where they're slightly more honest, slightly more transparent with their emotions. And that's part of what gives the comic the warmth and gives the series its warmth. These beings talk pretty honestly and pretty frankly about their emotions.
But without the meanness. I like that. It's right for the moment, isn't it? And I want to drill down a little bit. You shared that some of the storylines, the characters, and the way you approached the idea inspired by your wife, Taylor. And I want to hear a little bit more about that inspiration, how that goes over at home.
Well, truly, I always show a comic to Taylor before I would post it. I've never wanted to surprise her because obviously some of them are based on our relationship. But it was always meant to be a celebration of humans. So there's never a cynical approach. So even when Taylor and I are laughing about our slightly different approaches as cohabitants of a small apartment, it was always in good nature, because the truth is humans do have different preferences. They do traditions slightly different. It was always meant to be in good nature.
So what are you hoping, after all this, people will feel and take away? Was there a lesson, or what do you hope people take away when they watch the show, aside from just enjoyment?
It is a bit aspirational. This planet is kind of an analog to Earth, but it's slightly better. And I hope that people take away this idea that if we are a little more honest about our emotions, if we say, you know, I cried in the shower this morning, we're able to say that. We're happy that we survived and we existed another year, like in that comic there. We talk about some real emotion just casually. I think that's what you can take away. It's okay to talk about your emotions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Nathan Pyle, really great talking to you. Thanks so much for speaking with us. And you can watch Strange Planet. It's now streaming on Apple TV+. And that's our show for tonight. I'm Terry Moran. ABC News Live is here for you all night with the latest news, context, and analysis. And you can always find us on Hulu, on Roku, on the ABC News app, and of course, on abcnews.com.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.